Jay had given a beautiful introduction to the Brahmaviharas on January 3rd, right after the new year, letting us know about these four immeasurables, the divine abodes, these dwelling places of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. And it feels really important to be wondering together, why are these qualities so important? And how do we strengthen our access to them in this practice? And I hope to talk about that today, about these specific qualities of the Brahmaviharas that might help us understand how to move towards them, how to sense them, strengthen our connection to them, and to understand some of the challenges we might face along the way. And I want to use Metta as an example as we move through those qualities. Jay had mentioned that Metta, being the first of the Brahmaviharas, loving kindness, is really foundational. She had acknowledged that if we don't have that kind of fundamental relationship of warmth and friendliness, welcoming, connection with ourselves, with others, with anything, how can we really have true compassion or feel true joy, peace, acceptance of? So it's really important that metta comes first. Metta is often translated as loving kindness, but also friendliness, nonviolence, welcoming, connection. And it's really a heart practice, like all of the Brahmaviharas. We feel and access it in the heart. It's not conceptual or a cognitive decision to be kind. Sometimes I wish it were that easy. And so the Brahmaviharas are all limitless. They're qualities that are unconditionally felt and directed toward all beings and all phenomena. And that feels really important to hold, right? Metta, love that is unconditional and boundless. Nothing is left out, no thought, no person, no feeling, no phenomena is left out of that field of love, loving kindness. Some of you might know that I'm a therapist, and I work a lot in a particular approach to therapy where we work with different parts of ourselves and we try to relate to those parts from a place of kindness, friendliness, curiosity, compassion. And the motto of that approach is all parts are welcome. And I find that so many people are drawn to that model, just as they're drawn often to meditation with this energy of like, yeah, I want that, right? I want to welcome all parts of me. I want to welcome all parts of others. I want to feel unconditional love towards myself, toward all beings. It's a beautiful feeling and intention. And yet my guess is that, when we give it a chance, it's really hard. When we come up against waiting in line, getting caught in traffic, someone being really curt with us, we start to notice our own preferences. We start to notice how open or closed our hearts actually are to loving or connecting or being kind toward all things. And this is really meant to happen, right? We're meant to see that in this practice. We want to notice and work with how holding these qualities, unconditional love, unconditional care for suffering, is not easy at all. And in that way, the Brahmaviharas are aspirational. They're what we orient toward. And so we can always remember to redirect our hearts, our minds, our attention toward them, toward metta, toward kindness, knowing, of course, we're not going to feel warmth and kindness toward everything. The Dalai Lama says, I try to treat whoever I meet as an old friend. This gives me a genuine feeling of happiness. And I really appreciate that he starts with, I try to, right? Even the Dalai Lama, it's an intention, has to try, has to kind of see if he can do that. And it doesn't mean with this unconditional aspect of the Brahmaviharas that, say with metta, when we say we welcome or are kind to all beings, all things, it doesn't mean that we have to condone or agree with all things or with the beliefs or behaviors of others, but that we orient from a place of kindness, wanting to connect, interest in. One way that the Buddha talked about metta, he said, the characteristic of loving kindness is to promote well-being. Its function is to prefer well-being. Its manifestation is the removal of annoyance. Its proximate cause is seeing the loveliness of beings. It succeeds when it makes ill will subside, and it fails when it produces selfish affection. So we see, right, as we orient toward the loveliness of beings, metta will arise, ill will subside. And when we notice kind of selfish affection or our personal preferences, our agenda, we can know, oh, it's not metta. There's our edge. And that points to one of the other characteristics of all of the Brahmaviharas, that they are beyond the little me, right? So much bigger than me. And that they do not have self-led demands, agendas, or expectations that things will be in a certain way. They're not an attempt to control anything. I think about Susan with that. I think about Susan saying, let Susan move out of the way and the Dharma move through. And this is the same with the Brahmaviharas. Let Catherine move out of the way so that metta can move through, so that compassion can move through. When I have accessed or connected to metta, I sense in this way that I can't quite explain that it's not mine. It's not my preferences, my agendas. It's just this kindness. Acharya Buddharakkhita said, true metta is devoid of self-interest. Right? Just a field of love, kindness, connection, well-wishing. If it's not kind of about us, or if it's beyond the little me, I also think it's really important to note that that helps remind me that metta is not about being nice. It's about I'm kind no matter what. Right? Niceness, when I connect to it, it sort of is protective. It has an agenda. You know, for me, especially as a woman, definitely I was raised and conditioned to be nice so that people like me, so that I don't cause conflict, so that I'm seen in a positive light, and so that I'm safe. I can feel a little bit of the constriction that comes with that agenda. It isn't unconditional. You know, nice for me often I can get caught in this place of like, I'm being nice, so why isn't this person, right? And these qualities are so different. Metta, no requirements to the kindness. It's not, I am kind if you are this. I'm only kind if you are this kind of person, or if you do this, or if you behave in the way I like. And it's not, I am kind so that you will do X, Y, or Z, or so that you will see me in a good light. It's just, I'm going to love and be kind. And with this also, we don't have to suppress anything to access the Brahmaviharas, right? Really isn't about suppressing anything or forcing ourselves. Sharon Salzberg says concepts such as loving kindness should never be used as weapons against our real feelings. And as a therapist, this is really important to me, right? We can have so much aversion to our feelings. We can think that to be a good meditator, we have to be happy and peaceful all the time. But actually, the Brahmaviharas, they can contain all of it. There can be kindness toward anger, sadness, jealousy, rain, sun, rotting weeds, world on fire. And just as we don't have to suppress or force anything to access the Brahmaviharas, we also don't have to create them. And this is real comfort for me to remember that the Brahmaviharas are already here. Many of you may know this quote by Rumi. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Right? Metta is already here. In the absence of ill will, metta will arise and be present. And I just recently learned that that quote is not complete. So the whole quote actually is, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it and embrace them. And embrace them. This feels like such a beautiful teaching on metta. Not only is it already here, and I just need to kind of see what's getting in the way, but even as I do that, I can direct kindness toward that. Because usually what gets in the way are all these different ways that we've learned to protect ourselves, keep ourselves safe. I think often, as we start working with the Brahmaviharas, and particularly metta, it can feel really vulnerable to our systems to imagine just unconditional love, right? It can feel like that's not going to be safe. Too vulnerable. And even though I know, and we all may know intellectually, that loving kindness is the strongest protection, it really takes some time for our systems to trust that. And so as we notice what blocks it, we want to be really kind to that as well. Embrace that in the field of metta. Another aspect of the Brahmaviharas is that they are possible in every moment, just like mindfulness, right? They're aspirational in the same way that mindfulness is. And I think about Susan again here, giving us that gold star for noticing. Gold star for noticing when we kind of come back and are mindful again and realize we've been lost. It's the same here. We notice when we kind of are blocked or slip out of metta, and we can come back. There's always something that's arising that we can be kind to and with. The Dalai Lama says, be kind whenever possible. it is always possible. I love that. It's so true. There's always something happening within us, around us, that we can orient toward with a interest in, a willingness to connect, warmth. I also want us all to have a lot of confidence that we know how to do this. Bill and Susan have really set us up. They've integrated metta into everything. Right? I think of Bill saying, "Hey, buddy," warming up, brightening up the holding environment, kind eyes. I remember when I first started working with Bill and Susan, and Bill was leading a meditation, and he encouraged kindness. He was, let us kind of be gentle with ourselves, a kind of, "Hey, buddy," approach. And I had all these reactions to it that we wound up talking about. It was like, I can't do that. I'm trying to get somewhere here. This is serious. I can't be gentle with myself. And I can still have that energy, but I can feel how much that blocks my heart from wisdom and from love. Bob Sharples says, "Don't meditate to fix yourself, to improve yourself, to redeem yourself. Rather, do it as an act of love, of deep, warm friendship to yourself." With all of the Brahmaviharas, also, we want to start where it's easy, to get a felt sense of each, right? Don't push ourselves to have love and welcoming all beings, all phenomena. We want to start where it's easy, whether that's a tree in nature, a cloud, a pet. For me, it's often my cat, because no matter what he's doing, I just feel all this warmth and love toward him. And I'll end with a poem by a nun named Dandika. She says, "While walking along the river after a long day meditating on Vulture Peak, I watched an elephant splashing its way out of the water and up the bank. 'Hello, my friend,' a man waiting there said, scratching the elephant behind its ear. 'Did you have a good bath?' The elephant stretched out its leg, the man climbed up, and the two rode off like that together. Seeing what had once been so wild, now a friend and companion to this good man. I took a seat under the nearest tree and reached out a gentle hand to my own mind. Truly, I thought, this is why I came to the woods." So let's orient our hearts toward metta, kindness, friendliness, warmth. Let's see where we feel it most easily. Might be very quiet and simple. We can build from there until nothing is left out. Thank you so much for your attention.